Candace, you talked with a political science professor about what this means for all of us here in the United States.
That's right, James. Earlier today, the Biden administration called the movements of Russia into Ukraine's rebel-held regions the start of an invasion. A professor at Wright State University tells me he completely disagrees with that message.
So you're saying you disagree?
I disagree with President Biden. I think where Russian troops are now, they essentially were invited in.
Dr. Anderson describes the area where Russian troops are at now as pro-Russian separatist regions.
There's a big difference between that and then marching on the road to the capital city of Ukraine.
The question still stands, what sort of obligation, if any, the United States has to the Ukraine?
So we are not obligated to defend Ukraine.
So then, why are we getting involved? The answer, according to Dr. Anderson, is complicated.
Ukraine seems determined to join NATO, and we seem determined to allow Ukraine to join NATO. And what's happened over the last couple of months is Russia drawing a line and saying, this is an existential threat to us.
And that's because Dr. Anderson says that NATO is essentially an anti-Russian alliance.
It provides protection to countries who fear Russia.
But with all that said, Dr. Anderson tells me it's very unlikely the U.S. would get involved in any sort of war with Russia over this.
We will help them, I'm sure, but from the sidelines. You know, we're not going to, I don't think, risk U.S. troops dying in the fields of Ukraine to fight Russia.
What's more likely, he says,
what we will continue to do is say things in public, put sanctions on Russia and Vladimir Putin and his colleagues and this sort of stuff, and continue to supply weapons to Ukraine, the Ukrainian military.
Now, Dr. Anderson also told me a more immediate issue is that now that Russian troops are in Ukraine, Ukraine will not be able to join NATO. So essentially all Russia would have to do is stay there as long as necessary. Live in the News Center, Candace Price, News Center 7.